Hello, so what I'm going to show you today is how to start your slip knot at the beginning of your crochet, and also how to do the beginning chain as well. So I've got quite chunky wool here, and therefore I've gone for a little bit of a larger hook size as well. So that's a 5. You can see that on there. Just in the hopes that this will be a bit more easy to see on this particular video. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab our wool and we're going to hold our hand flat with our foot. You can do 4 or 3 fingers, whichever you prefer really, but you just want to have your palm flat and facing you. Once you've done that, you want to take the tail of your wool and so that it's pointing down towards your little finger, and then use your left thumb to hold that in place so that when you're moving around it's not going to come off. Once you've done that, you want to wrap the wool behind the back of your fingers, back up to your thumb, and you want to actually cross the wool over. So this is going to be going towards your wrist end. Once you've crossed that over, you can hold it again with your thumb, and then you want to turn your hand over. So again, the wool that's going to the ball is actually on the left hand side towards our wrist, and the loop that we've made is towards the end of our fingertips. Once you get to this point, you can take your crochet hook, go underneath the first one, and pointing your hook down away from you, go over the top of the second one and grab that, pulling it through that first loop that you've made. Now once you have that on your hook, you can place your right finger on top so it doesn't move, and then gently take your fingers out. So what you'll have is a little circle there of the wool and a loop pulled up through it and a tail. Now once you've got to that point, what you want to do is get both of the tails. So when I say the tail, I mean the loose end of the wool there, and also the end that's going to your ball of wool, your working yarn. And you want to grab both of those whilst keeping your finger on the top of the loop, which is on your hook, and you want to pull. And that's created your slip knot. Now to get that tight, obviously that's going to be a bit too loose to work with. To get that tight, you want to move the loose tail out of the way and grab the working yarn, the one that's going to be attached to your ball of wool. And whilst that's on your hook, you can gently pull that, and that will tighten it up to your hook like that. So you'll have the tail that's left, you'll end up weaving that in later on, and you'll have your working yarn here. Now this is a reminder as well in terms of how to hold your wool, or if you haven't done it before, to show you how to hold your wool. What you'll want to do is take your hook and your slip stitch in your right hand. Hold that so you can move that around without it falling off the end of your hook, and you can move the tail out of the way. You want to take your working yarn and bring it up over your left little finger. Once you've done that, wrap it around the bottom and then back over. So it's looped once around your little finger. And then what you're going to do is I'm going to pull this behind and put my 3 fingers in front, like that. And then what that leaves me with is my fingers here free to pick up. What you'd normally be grabbing would be the work that you've got, or your chain. Obviously at the minute we haven't got one. So I'm going to be using it to grab the tail. And what I can do is either grab it with my thumb and index finger or my thumb and my middle finger. It depends which way is more comfortable or more natural to you. I prefer to do it with my index finger, and then what that leaves me able to do is lift my middle finger up, and that gives me where I'm going to be working. So I'll just show you that again, and then show you how we're going to use that. So up in your right hand, up and around your little finger, behind the back of your 3 fingers, and then grabbing your work, or at this point your tail, with your thumb and your index finger, and extending your middle finger. So once you've got to this point, we're going to start making a chain. So what you can do is use your right index finger to stop that wool sliding around too much, or at least control the sliding movement. And you do want to be working on this thick round bar part. You don't want to be going too close to the end of the hook here, because that's a lot narrower than the actual bar. And what you'll find is it becomes then very tight stitches, and that also means that you're going to struggle to get your hook through those stitches when you work back over onto the next row. So always try and bring that back down to the bar when you're working. If you have a hook like this as well, I find my thumb sits quite nicely on that flat part there. So I tend to hold it like that and my thumb on the flat part. But again, however you're most comfortable once you become more familiar. So what we're going to do is hold it like this. So you've almost got the working yarn and the hook parallel to each other. And what you're going to do is almost a figure of 8 motion. So you're going to sweep the top of the hook to the left and then bring it under and round to the right, and that will hook your yarn. So that's going to be our yarn over. Once we've done that, you can gently start pulling the hook towards you, and you'll see that obviously the end of the hook is going to stop that wool from falling off. Now, when you get to actually reaching that stitch, if you have a look, you might be able to see from that side there, you've got a bit more of a V shape at the bottom where this slip knot is here. So what you're trying to do is turn that. So what you'd actually be doing, obviously I'm just showing you on the angle of the camera, you'd be turning the hook towards the ground. But you can see there where the space is just underneath, that I'm trying to aim to get the hook through by doing that turn. And it slides through the V part of that stitch quite easily. So I'll just show you that again from sort of a normal angle. What you would be doing is bringing your hook over to the left, underneath and sweeping to the right, gently pulling that wool towards the stitch to go through, and then as you get there, turning it to the bottom to pull it through. And this is what we're doing now, making our chain. Obviously a lot of patterns will tell you how many you want to chain on. If you're just practicing, you can go for as long as you like. But we'll continue on, and what I tend to do is that after every couple of stitches I move my fingers right up to the bottom of the hook, the yarn that's over your hook. So you're right at the bottom there. It gives you a lot more leverage to hold it and manipulate that around. So move your fingers up and we'll go round again, round to the left, under, over to the right, and pulling it towards you and turning at the end. And you can continue on again as much as you need to, as much as the pattern calls for, and you'll just be creating your chain. And as it becomes more familiar and you do this more often, you'll become into a little pattern of how you're doing it. And you can see why I'm saying it's a bit like a figure of 8, round and round, round and round. So that creates a lovely little line of V's, which is your chain stitch. And this is what you'll be working back into on your other rounds or following rounds. So that's how you do your beginning slip knot, your chain stitch, and how you hold the wool in your left hand, and also how you hold the hook in your right hand as well. So I hope you found that useful.